Recording in progress.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Supreet Nagaraju, Head of Education from Adobe India. A very warm welcome to one and all for this evening session of Essential Education from Adobe in collaboration with Indian Express. Today's topic for our discussion is enabling an innovation first mindset. And it's going to be an interesting bunch of panel members, very eminent academic leaders in their respective fields. Let me welcome each one of them on the online podium. If I may request all the esteemed, co-panelists to kindly switch on their videos and mics, please. Let me welcome, Mr. Gopal Meena, Vice President Strategic Initiatives at Chitkara Design School and University. Welcome, Gopal. So also we have Professor Pushpendra Kumar Petria from Lovely Professional University from the School of Computing and Computer Science. Pushpendra, welcome. We have Dr. Charulata Pathak from Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences, Indore, an eminent engineering academician from the Symbiosis trend. Welcome, Dr. Charulata.
Thank you.
Let me also welcome Professor Hemchandra Reddy, who has been an stalwart from the Andhra Pradesh higher education community. He's currently the Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi University of Knowledge Technologies and leading innovation in the rural Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Hemchandra Reddy, welcome to the evening session. If you may kindly switch on your video, please. Okay. So, folks, we all know that learning is not a spectator sport. It is an action and a reaction that always, encourages, simulates a two-way traffic in terms of the learning process. And one of the key things in the learning process is how do you foster creativity? How do you infuse a thought process uh, that brings in that and kindles in that thought of bringing in problem solving as a key area at a large set. So let me begin my first topic overall. If I may start with Mr. Gopal Meena, how do you foster creativity in your realm and sphere and infuse a thought process that can solve students can help the students solve some new problems in the current context of things. Gopal, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Supreet. I think when you look at the design education, the entire fundamental and foundation of design education is creativity, because that's how And even if I look at your screen, which says Adobe Creative Clouds, it's all about the tools which a designer needs to create creativity to do innovation. But when I look at the digital literacy, so I believe digital literacy and design curriculum empowers students to ideate, to design, and to produce in and for the technology era what we're living at. So that's a power of the digital literacy which comes together with as a design curriculum. I think and we have seen a lot of studies which has come from McKinsey and other great research organization, and it says the implementation of technology and digital literacy 100% ensure that the student learning the digital tools is going to support the design excellence, and that also supports the personal growth of a student, and it absolutely embraces the human-centric design approach. So that's the power of digital literacy, and that's a tool where the creativity comes together when it comes to design as an education. So yeah, and when you look at design, and design always come with it's a creative process to solve problems, and that's where also the innovation comes. So that's where I think looking at the advantage of digital literacy, I think design education is one field which is very important, which is going to bring the change in India. Because even if today you look at in the ranking of innovation, India is still like 48 number, because innovation is never been the force for academics to look at. they always, I'm so sorry to say that we always keep looking at, the market fit, ready product as a student, if I say, yeah. So I think, the complete turnaround in terms of academic and using the digital literacy and to be part of an academic. And when I talk of digital literacy, it's like, the T form, T shape of a complete holistic, development, where you also understand what is creativity, you understand how you do collaborations, that how do you use e-safety, how do you do, how does this becomes a critical thinking becomes a part of your, the entire curriculum. So I think from a design point of view, it's a great opportunity to look at the area of innovation and digital literacy for a student to be benefited from it. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Gopal, for your valuable views. Let me, welcome Professor Hemchandra Reddy as well. Thank you for joining us, Professor Hemchandra Reddy. We've been discussing about a topic on how do you foster creativity and infuse, thought processes that solve some complex problems at scale. Your thoughts, as to, how can academics drive this movement?
Suprit, may I request you for the question once again?
Yeah. How do you foster creativity and infuse a thought process to help students solve some complex problems in real life?
Yeah, Suprit, thank you for the opportunity given. Uh, the much is talked about in the NAP about the rote learning and the need to get rid of this rote learning in the higher education system. I don't know, for reasons best known for the Indian education system for long, I should say decades. We stuck to the conventional teaching learning processes, and mostly the teaching learning process that happened, in educational institutions. They were all, forcing a student to memorize and reproduce in the examination. So that's how our examination system is working. And in spite of all the interventions, curricular interventions, initiated and proposed at various levels, leave aside those top-notch institutions, state level and national level reputed institutions, where the students are cream of India or cream of the particular state, where they are self-driven and they always stretched their boundaries, and then they always came out of their comfort limits, and then they started performing. That's where quality is being talked about today. But I should say 87% of the higher education space is still very conventional, and we need to redesign the entire curriculum. In a way, as you said, the experiential learning, the experimental learning shall be encouraged, particularly in higher education systems. Also, all said and done, the skill needed to be brought in a large scale, particularly, Meena Garu was talking about the digital revolution. You cannot think of, advancements without embracing the latest technology. So without ignoring the technology, probably you cannot bring in innovation into higher education system. So the pandemic has opened a new vistas of digital education as such for us, and the world is talking about the sectorial skills, and now the 24 skills that have been identified worldwide, are being talked about everywhere. So the fundamental deviation that we should be resorting to is skilling the education. I mean, with a sufficient percentage of skill programs embedded into the curriculum is the first, innovation that we need to brought in. The state of Andhra Pradesh did that, and we have totally redesigned both conventional and professional education, and we brought in at least 30% of the skill programs into the curriculum. So this is the major initiative. And also we said we gave a lot of flexibility to the student. Now whenever curriculum design is such a simple task for any boards of studies. You draw reputed academicians from various institutions. They come together, they sit in a room, they design best of the curriculum. But the effectiveness depends on the delivery in the classroom. Now, delivery is done by the teacher who is already engaged for the purpose. So the teacher, when capacity is not built, the teacher is going wrong, and the curriculum will not be effectively delivered in the classroom. We said we gave enormous flexibility before we built the capacity. We gave the flexibility to the student. We asked him, you choose a course, whether being taught in the classroom or being offered online through the MOOCs programs or offered by an industry, and then get the certificate, convert that into credits, and the credits are accepted in the institution. And the innovation societies, we are making it mandatory in the state of Andhra Pradesh to start the innovation clubs, and then allow the students to participate in the incubation activities. The state government also has come out with an idea of starting a skill university as such, to handhold these innovation centers, innovation hubs being promoted in the colleges. So we are not just like that introducing these programs, because these are the catchy words, and these are not new to education institutions as such. For some time they are being talked about in higher education institutions, but this time around we wanted to introduce such programs in the institutions with proper hand holding from the government, and with proper support from the government. So we wanted to take up innovation and incubation to go in a huge way, and basically as a first step we wanted to skill the student before he takes up to any kind of experiment. And also we this time around in the curriculum we made 10 months of mandatory internship. Every student before he acquires his degree shall go through 10 months of gain exposure to the real work situation for about 10 months. So collectively, I think we have taken a positive step in the state of Andhra Pradesh, pushing a student, or break the shackles and making the student to think about the new horizons and new possibilities, new options. And the main focus, yes, in Andhra Pradesh is skilling and then entrepreneurship, hands-on experience. With this, we thought we can bring in the innovation into this. And one final point, I don't know how much time I'm
Yeah, well,
permitted.
yeah, please.
One final point, and as part of the curricular intervention, we said 2 months of mandatory internship for each student with the society. Get engaged in the society, understand a problem of the society, start working towards a solution. Andhra Pradesh state government is also proposing ambitiously, for the first time in the country, a community development board. Now this community development board is going to integrate, bring in the society and also the academia together, and discuss about the local problems, and then understand the local needs, and then pave way for local planning as such. So this way I am going to give an opportunity to every student to understand what is happening around the society. It's not that student is not observing what is happening in the society, but this time, in the academic mindset, we are asking the student to look at these problems and work towards a solution. And we are expecting many innovations to emerge through this, deep thinking and engagement with the society. And that's one reason why we are expecting Andhra shall be a center or a hub of innovation down the line, maybe in 3 years from now on. So these are some of the initiatives, Supreet, that I think if I'm given an opportunity again to speak, probably I'll
We
be
will. We will. There are a few
expressing
more
my.
pointers. We'll come back to you on this. Thank you. And
Yeah,
it was a
thank you,
very
Supreet.
well-rounded pointers. Really appreciate your thoughts and expertise. Professor Hemchandra Reddy. That was Professor Hemchandra Reddy, folks. Let me move on to our next panelist, which is Professor Charudatta. He's coming in from the symbiosis background, expertised in the technology education space. Professor, if you can talk a little bit about how are you looking at embracing, fostering creativity, and are there any examples that you can share to our audience as well? Kindly unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, this is Charudatta Pathak. I'm presently Vice Chancellor at Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences, Indore. This happens to be India's first skill university, pioneered by our Honorable Pro-Chancellor Dr. Swati Muzumdar. She did her PhD in skilling education in 2013. And prior to that, she was with top automobile companies in US. She worked in US almost for 12 years. And coming back to India, uh, she surveyed education system in India. And during her research, she developed a model. We call it as 30-70 model. Only 30% thrust is given to theory. Even credits, we are offering only 30% credits to theory part, even for our undergraduate program and postgraduate program. And 70% learning happens experientially in our university, wherein we have dedicated skill and practical sessions for each subject. And during that, student get more time. Okay, as I said, there are certain observations which are common to everyone because of this education pattern we are following in India. It is killing creativity. If you ask innovation, I am sure almost 90% students, and even to some extent some faculty, they will wrongly take innovation as invention. Most of the things, and they shy away because they don't know what is innovation. So innovation can be thought as doing the things innovatively or differently, which no one other has done, and we don't have any set experience or set rules, and I am doing it first time. That is innovation, and it is applicable to every walk of my life. It is not that I should invent new subject, I should invent new book, I should invent new type of automobile. It is there in every aspect, even if suspension, the same suspension, I can innovate to work it for a betterment. I will tell you a classical example of an automobile called as Innova. Toyota, when they came up with this model Innova, which is a grand success, I think only successful model all over the universe as of now in its class. And everybody is imitating Innova. The word Innova itself came from the word innovation. And they wanted that every component should be innovative. Even location of bolts, location of nuts, engine, seating, chassis, frame structure, safety, then durability, transmission, air conditioning. So in every aspect, Toyota wanted that this vehicle should be innovative, and they did it. And they did it first time, and then others copied it. So it is not innovation. If other, like I can cite one example of Mahindra, I don't recall the brand, that name, but that model was discontinued. It was as it is copied from Innova. But Innova is innovation. So why we cannot give such a brain? We have that brains, and for that creativity, we need to check that how we can foster the creativity of the student, even though during the online session. So I can share a quick link wherein we encourage such kind of simulation tools during our teaching learning process, and students, they do it remotely, and this simulation happens, and this is how student can interpret the different aspects of suspension and its effect on rack and pinion arrangement, spindle wheel, and even vibrations which are felt at driver level. So these are the things which we encourage students to think innovatively, and we are getting good results because of these digital tools or digital simulation tools which we use, and it is mandatory. We use MSc Adams, which is industry leading software for designing suspension. Then we use ANSYS for transmission system, and analysis for vibration analysis we use Nastran. So these are the contemporary and advanced tools we are using and encouraging our students to learn during their stay with us. Even though in the Corona pandemic, we are training them through online teaching mode. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Datta. Thank you for sharing your viewpoints and how you are practicing some of these things. Let me move over to Professor Pushpender from Lovely Professional University. He leads the division on computer science and engineering. Dr. Pushpender, your thoughts largely on how are you fostering creativity? How are you keeping your students motivated to think outside the box? Any examples, any insights that you can share from LPU side of the story? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Supriji, for giving me this particular opportunity. And good evening, everyone. Um, the creativity is one word. Like, I am a technical person. I deal with computer science background people, so I will talk creativity in that aspect. The creativity is one thing which requires something new to be developed, like something novel. There has to be flexibility, and there has to be a, you can say, fluency of the thoughts. So if we collaborate all these things, then we can say there are some innovative things are going on. Let's say the previous thing, let's say the telephone or some other things, if we talk nowadays, in today's aspect, we cannot say it is a very innovative thing. It was. So your thoughts should be, you can say, the continuous process it is, so that we can coming up new things every day. In technology, like before the pandemic or after, during this particular pandemic, we feel, you can say, a kind of paradigm shift. So the traffic on any of the online channel like YouTube or any other thing, it is multifolded, like multiple users they are referring. And the people, those who were not very much keen to, or those who were not, you can say, the digitally literate or whatever, they were not very much attached to that particular thing. Now they are bound to follow such kind of platforms. Like earlier we were teaching physically, like in the classroom teaching, and now the students and teacher are joining the some platform and remotely we are teaching. So the challenge is coming or in the way of innovation also. So what I or we try at LPU to maintain the pace and try to allow the students so that they can think and can design the new things. In terms of assessments, we try to innovate the thing. We talk to the people from industry like Supriji, you or some a number of people. We try to collaborate them, try to understand the need, because at the end of the BTech or any technical degree, the people will looking for the jobs, and ultimately the IT industry will consume them. So we start with the end in the mind when we start the curriculum design. So we collaborate and we call upon the people, they collaborate and give us the feedback and ideas, and then we try to design the curriculum. And then in assessment, we try to give, like there are few certain courses like design thinking or UI UX design, or you can say game development, or there are a number of things. So such kind of courses, they skill up or train the students for future, because nowadays when everybody is using this kind of digital, you can say the flood is going on. If someone is not digitally trained, and let's say someone is not, let's say if I am not comfortable with Zoom, I cannot speak and I cannot collaborate with the others, such kind of platform. So such kind of digital literacy is one of the important thing which we try to incorporate in our curriculum with the help of the partners like Adobe or and number of other partners we are having. The important thing or the good thing about this particular mode which we are looking for, these kind of modes are flexible. Students, they have the flexibility, they can stay at your home, so ultimately the cost will be reduced, and other things the people are having in the relax mode, and then they can communicate with their teachers and they can attend the classes. The only thing is the technologies in between, which is bridging the gap and establishing the communication, that is very challenging thing. So we need some strong support from the industry, so that although my teachers are delivering well, they are trying very hard, but if this particular gap cannot be bridged by the industry, it will be a kind of disconnect with the students, right? So innovation we are trying to incorporate in the curriculum in terms of assessment, and we are trying to incorporate the new or advanced tools so that a student can work upon them, like you can say Photoshop, or there are a number of tools available where people can think freely and they can collaborate and innovate.
Yeah. Thank you, Pushpenji. Thank you for your valuable thoughts. Let me move over to one of the next interesting topics that I have, which is largely around how do you build capacity, to foster creativity, right? We are looking at, train the trainer, teacher development. How do you look at having a flipped classroom model? How do you look at having probably different permutation combinations of traditionally what has been done 90-10, 90 theoretical, 10 practical, or 80-10, 80-20, or a 60-40. So let me open up the conversation. Let me start with Gopal Meena ji. Gopal ji, if you can share your thoughts, what works under the current circumstances? What are the different things that we could look at? How difficult is it to reskill and probably upskill educators within the current limitations that we have? Is physical mode the best, or is it physical plus digital? The digital, what we call the way forward. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Supreet. I think it has to be a combination of two. When especially it comes to design education, because we say, design needs a particular skill to innovate. And there are still huge debates globally whether that skill can be taught digitally or not. Or can it be a partially taught digital or partially can be physical. Hence, we say that hybrid education systems can be the best in the future. But looking at, there is no denying that when I talk about, technology and creative solving, creative problem solving are going to be the future of the education. Whether I talk about, how we use AR and VR and give an advantage of a student to visualize their outcome before they use the software to reach to an outcome. So how do we use these tools for students and as well as for the mentors or the trainers, that how they go out of their box to think about, these kind of creative solutions and these kind of creative technology platforms which is available. Because the industry is really moving in pace. Whether it was pandemic, and honestly, for design, pandemic became a huge opportunity for design. And globally, we have seen. And you look at any arena of the design area, whether it be in an automobile, I have seen so many new innovations which happens in automobile, which becomes a very essential part of pandemic, which was being designed because the user expectation has changed, the user behavior has changed, and designers has to really change quickly and need to look at these available platform for design. It can be any digital platform. Like if you look at I was looking at Amazon Go shopping experience. And they said, okay, how touchless we can go in terms of shopping. And designers came and they said, okay, oh, all right, we're not going to use any cash currency. It's going to be just your mobile is going to be an element which is going to shop for you everything. Mm-hmm. So we use these kind of technology so we can actually develop that kind of a mindset for students, and they can be prepared for the future, and they become a lifelong learner. Mm-hmm. So absolutely looking at, the collaboration like Adobe and other top leaders of the world, that how they bring that kind of expertise for the mentors to be ready to go into the class, whether physical or online. Because see, if tomorrow, if we say, the vaccination is going to go in a correct way, and how Dr. The other professor and a doctor was talking about, that in Indore is being one of the best model. So if I say another 6 months, if we getting back normal, hopefully, then does this technology still are relevant? Or we said, pandemic is over, we're going to go 100% face-to-face classes? Or do we go back to the traditional form of education? So that's a big question mark, that we should not use this technology just for the sake of saying it's a pandemic. So let's do a Zoom session. Yeah. So we need to look at that. How do we use this technology to prepare students for as a lifelong learner? Because technology is future, no doubt about it. No. And empowering a young creative to become change maker. That's another thing. That how do you make your student as a change maker in society, not just ready for the market? Because if we say that innovation and startups and incubation is the future, then there has to be a change maker who is ready to take that ship and say, I'm going to be the captain of the ship, and I'm going to bring the change, and I'm going to give employment to rural India, or I'm going to use the platform of Skill India and generate employment. So how do you give these kind of platform for students so they are much in advance? Because I cannot teach them the current scenario of pandemic, because by the time they convocate after 3 years, if someone is in second year, might be pandemic is over, and they will say, oh, my institute or my the university didn't give me that kind of opportunity because everything happened on online, and there was always a challenge being in online, because still there are few modules which you cannot teach online, which needs hands-on experience.
Understand.
Yeah. And if you look at the theory of what IDEO design has actually did, the human-centric design, and they said trial and error is one of the key to success. So now online, how does student do trial and error? How do they reach to a success much faster space?
Interesting.
Yeah. So technology and digital literacy in combination with industry players like Adobe or other technology players like Google and other people, if they come together with the hand to hand in with education, and that's where we can create a good platform for learner as well as the mentors. So yeah, that and that's what we also at this point of time at Chitkara, because Chitkara Design School is very new. It's just like a 2 years old, and that's exactly the complete aim is that we create that healthy space and a very user-centric space in terms of, because see, every student is a very unique student when it comes to learning pattern. I cannot force that every student should use a Photoshop to design a poster. No, you cannot do that.
You can't. Yes.
Yeah, because there are different technologies and different platforms which is available.
Yeah.
And students should take their own interest to explore Photoshop or Illustrator or a Lightroom or something else to explore.
Correct.
And another thing which is very important, Sabir, I'm just going to take another 1 minute. Very important that we are actually in somewhere where we call about say experiential economy kind of format, where the user is actually not paying for the product, but he's paying for an experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how does your student understand that? How do you understand user better to even do innovations? Innovations again cannot be pushed. You need to find the areas of innovation, how research comes together when innovations is happening. So it's a complete collaboration which is required to look into the future of design or future of the work. I can say that. Yeah. Thank you, Surpreet. Yeah.
Thank you. So well-rounded and very insightful. I'll take away the coined word. I said create the change maker. That was a very interesting and I would say it's stuck in my brain. It's saying create the change maker, and I think I'll leave that to the audience as well to figure out how do they create change makers, and that's very much required for the Yuva Bharat to look forward to creating Make in India movement in a big way, right? So let me pose my next set of pointers to Professor Hemchandra Reddy Garu. If I may ask you, what are the important things in the process of innovation is inspiration, right? And inspiration and collaboration are two things that I keep hearing from creators, co-creators, and even today with academicians in a very larger sense. And the power for execution excellence has got these two words kind of two sides of the same coin in some way. Now, the question right now is we have a large population of student community which are outside of our metros and largely in our rural segment, tier 2, tier 3 segments. They have got dreams, they have aspirations, they have very sharp mind, beautiful minds, I would say. So how do you think you can up the bar, using various techniques, including digital mediums, and impact student learning outcomes? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. See, there is nothing like motivation that works. Basically, we need to give them an opportunity to explore. See, as long as you permit them to explore. See, you provide a restricted environment in the college. Probably, student will not be tempted to go that extra foot and then try experimenting things. So it's all shall be a change shall be brought in the philosophy or the culture that is prevailing in the institution. Now, the bigger mantra that one can talk about promoting innovation is allowing experimentation. Probably when you talk about motivation comes to the extent that student normally gets dejected when his attempts go wrong or when he fail. Probably that's where motivation is required. Probably one we need to inform the student, yes, failure is a stepping stone to success. So in my opinion, there is no well defined method to promote innovation. It's only encouraging student to go for experiential learning. That's what I said. The kind of engagement we are planning with the society, and then we are allowing student to take to skill. So one is to give self confidence. Number two is to give a mind to explore the things that is in front of him. So I think the innovation is a conclusion of both the things, conglomeration of all these things. So, in the state of Andhra Pradesh, we would like to take up skilling to a major extent and handhold the student, define the problem, discuss and debate at various levels, where a student finds himself or herself to be comfortable. And not only this, we are going, particularly pandemic has shown a way to the state of Andhra Pradesh. We needed to improve our digital infrastructure. Now, Andhra Pradesh state government is coming out with very huge projects. One is providing laptops to every student in higher education system at free of cost. Number two, creating remote learning centers. We have 13,000 villages, and each village shall have a remote learning center. And these remote learning centers shall be firmly connected to the LMS being hosted by AP State Council of Higher Education. So the e-content or the learning content is now planned to be made available every nook and corner of Andhra Pradesh. Now, what is happening, particularly in higher education environment? It's if it is a residential college, it's fine. The culture prevails, and students continue to get themselves engaged in, exploring and learning. But where it is not a residential campus, student leaves at 5:30, goes back to his locality, and then forgets about the college culture. So we just wanted to create this, infrastructure at all places in the state of Andhra Pradesh. In fact, to say 13,000 places in Andhra Pradesh where the content, the technology, the advancements and the applications of technology, everything is made available to a student at his fingertips, and particularly the remote learning centers, which can connect to 500 devices simultaneously, which is being planned. I'm sure, in another 6 months, we should be up with the system. When once it is done, probably we are creating a seamless learning experience to all the students of Andhra Pradesh. And therefore, we are making sure that, each student is engaged in the learning environment, so that students' innovation goes up. Precisely, Supreet. I don't have one word or answer or one sentence answer. How do you motivate or create innovative
No, that's
culture?
perfectly fine. That's perfect.
Innovative culture. Innovative culture is something, it comes through participation. So we would like to encourage students to participate more with the society, with the industry, and with the research activities. In fact, at a state level, we are planning a research board to promote multidisciplinary research. So AP state government has come out with 50 crore research funding, seed funding. So we have, though not in a huge scale, in a humble way, we are beginning now. In the last 1 year, we have effectively utilized the pandemic time and the lockdown period to plan all these activities, and we are just eagerly awaiting the academic activity to begin back in the classroom. All said and done, virtual learning, cannot replace the physical learning environment. So the peer learning is one big thing what students are missing now. Probably when we expect them back in the educational institutions, we wanted to rejuvenate and vibrate the whole system so that innovation goes up in a big way.
Sure. Thank you so much, Professor Mr. Reddy. Let me move over to our speaker from Shivnadar University. Good evening, Madam Dr. Rupa Manjari Ghosh, Vice Chancellor, Shivnadar University. Madam,
Thank you.
glad to have you here. And, you've been in the forefront of encouraging new design-led innovations, startup ecosystems, in Shivnadar across two, vast, diverse cultural background of students, one in North, one in South as an area. So what are your thoughts on how do you look at bringing about, the innovative mindset and encouraging them to look at, more on a jumpstart mode, on a springboard mode for startup through university as a platform?
Thank you, Supreet. I'm a little sorry. I mean, I had another engagement that I had promised for long, so I could not hear my co-panelists barring the last one. That's a disadvantage because there may be we are thinking alike. But you have asked me a very broad question. And on this topic, I can go on for an hour or more. So I would just pick up from. I mean, I'll give you some glimpses into my thought process in this. First, I do not like the slogan "Make in India."
Okay.
Because it gives you a feeling of a country of factory workers. China has moved out of that. So if I want to change it simply for last, or 9 odd years, I've been saying in SNU that let it be make by India. It's a country of innovators, and I'm going to change and talk about the innovation word as well. So first, don't think of you as following this, because now with AI, all the thinking jobs, all the thinking things will be done by machines. So humans are not required to mimic what machines can do. Your job is actually at a leadership role in thinking and in actually innovating and maybe inventing. So, of course, we have got an Atal Incubation Center that we're really lucky to be one of the first to get it in the first round in 2017 when Niti Aayog floated it out. We walked out with the maximum money as a greenhouse institution. It's kind of, I believe this is in our blood. So I'll give you one quote in that. It's not my original, but I believe that invention doesn't happen just if you give money. It happens when ideas connect. You can figure out who said this. But anyway, so you need to create an environment, and that I'll just elaborate really. I mean, in a very simple term first, is that I believe every child is creative. Right? So creativity is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it stops functioning. If you view innovation and creativity from this angle, it's actually not such a big problem. Your institutional intervention should not stop the creativity, but channelize it. Because a child asks all kinds of questions that probably do not have a logical sense. So you need to channelize that creativity into what would be useful. And that should be the job of institutions. So it's a simple concept. Massive, yes. a massive intervention if you talk about what I am talking about. And I think this is what we try to do, sort of make people unlearn the structured things they have learned, open their mind up by asking questions when they falter and they know they don't know answers to my questions. So they start thinking again like a child, that how do I attack this particular problem? So it happens more or less in this by opening up in everything. It's not just curriculum, it's the mode of delivery of that curriculum that matters. And I also want to say that, it's very important for you to go deep in one subject. I'm going to elaborate on that. In the name of interdisciplinarity and all the fanciful things, uh, people who do interdisciplinary work are often no good at any discipline. But by definition, interdisciplinarity should be that you are minimally good at two disciplines so that you can reap the rich dividend that exists at the interface. So at Shivnada University, interdisciplinarity is not at the cost of disciplinarity. If you go deep into something, you find another problem, you'll be able to go relearn and go deep into that problem as well. So I think what I am driving at is that, I'm speaking from the higher education sector, all of us are from there.
Yeah.
So innovation can come from unexpected quarters. You can get a skilling course for 3 months to 6 months. You don't need to come to the university for innovation. So it would show up, in terms of commercialization of technology. That can happen without systematic education. But what I like to call invention, it's a product of education. Invention is applied research. Education should accelerate invention. And they are primarily products of education. So what people are really waiting for, what's the next big real invention we need to have for this country and the human race? You can quote COVID, you can quote the inadequacy of our health system, the fact that food and energy costs are rising, the fact that we don't have flying cars yet, the fact that a space mission, this is real, right?
Yeah,
so I think we need to be talking about the real inventions and not the tricking done by innovation, which should happen side by side. So creativity and invention in the higher education sector would be of this deep kind, which basically means you train them. I also talk about it in terms of tapping into the potential of connecting my left brain, which is verbal, analytical, and orderly, my right brain, which is visual and intuitive. The left brain can be coded by the computer. Right brain coding is not done yet. So you basically need creativity, design, innovation that is promote project-based, problem-based, purpose-based learning. And we have things like we have partnered with the SO system. This is one example. I'm not saying that's the only one. And we have created a design and innovation experience center. Now, so we talk about engineering, design, business analytics, predictive sciences, drug discovery, system biology, etc., etc. But this is really a full human being, a 360-degree human being, where your analytical abilities get complemented by your visual or intuitive abilities. And this is the kind of training I think you should give to your students to come up with the next invention that the world is waiting for. And so I think I'm making these two major points that, don't get fooled by the glamour of technology into following. Technology also limits. You should know the black boxes that you're using, right? So I think it's your pedagogy that should dictate the choice of technology, not the other way around. Not that this technology is available, therefore I tune my pedagogy that way. That's the biggest mistake in the higher education system, and we are not doing it. It's much harder what we are doing, but I think that's the way. So the question that we should be asking, a machine also can innovate, right? So will an algorithm take your job? What are humans still good for? Right? Because I think that's the real challenge, and you need to exploit what we are good for. So I'll stop here, but that's merely my sense. You need to create this ecosystem where quality controllers would be university like ours, where you really make these ideas connect, keep the creativity aligned, and don't think of just factory workers, think of innovators as leaders. And they are not innovators, I'll call them inventors. So that's a long-term strategy. That should be the priority of every country.
Very interesting pointers. Thank you so much, Dr. Upamaji. Let me circle back to you in the next bunch of questions. Let me move over to Dr. Charudata. Dr. Charudata, your thoughts on design-led innovation startups and how universities can be a springboard for some of these startup ecosystems from for creating young India, a powerful young India. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks. I was also a part of NISP mission, and I have even a good rapport with the Chief Innovation Officer of India. Uh, so the thing is that catch them young is the we can say a buzzline, and I have witnessed some startups even they have students from class 7. Okay, so that is a very good thing about the innovation policy floated by government of India, and it was much needed, but nevertheless it's in time, even though it is late, and it is picking up, and maybe we will get fruits down the line 3 to 4 years from now. One thing is that we have at Symbiosis, we have two skills university. One is at Pune and one is at Indore. These are dedicated skills university, and we have 2 months of mandatory industry internship embedded in our curriculum. So every students from all disciplines is required to spend 2 months per year of his or her program in industry, and one full semester of internship during the program in the last year, maybe odd or even. So in total, if we talk of engineering, at the end of his graduation, student would have earned 1 year of work experience uh, in industry. So what happens? This becomes a motivating factor for the student uh, at the young age. Why I can't be the industrialist, and if he is visiting some small scale or medium scale industry, obviously he will find some inspiration. And even though if the student is like working in large scale industry, he will have an opportunity to work with different vendors or suppliers, what we call. Okay. And one more good thing about uh, this internship pattern which we have adopted for motivating our students for entrepreneurship is that they come to know about the problem statement. And one of our student group, even they have won national level hackathon first prize gold medal when they come up with some solution of filling petrol or diesel in the vehicle. uh, that is some sort of automation they did using what we can say robotic process interface API they got from Google, and they integrated their app with the Google Maps. So that kind of innovation, no teacher, I will say with pride, that no teacher has given them this idea. It came up on their own while doing their internship. So this is one example. Another example of incubation center, which I can cite, we have to really think of the models adopted by China, Germany, Japan, and America. It's not that the model of China will be successful with us. It may be a model by America. It may be a model by what we can say Japan or Europe will be successful. Presently, if we think very broadly, the biggest hurdle which I feel is the rate of interest. And unless and until our government lend the money at 0.75% or 2% to young entrepreneurs, this it will be very difficult for our students or entrepreneurs to be competitive at global level. But that is a problem which we are facing. That is rate of interest on the loan, or that we should address to government, specifically Commerce Ministry or Finance Ministry. Second big problem is electricity tariff. So there is a cross subsidy. It means we are charging industry very heavily. The rate is agreed by all is 12 rupees per unit. But if you actually see the light bill of industry, and if you calculate the number of units consumed and the bill, it comes out to be 22 rupees, because government is levying more charges on these 12 rupees per unit. So we are paralyzing this manufacturing sector or industry sector by giving cross subsidy. And this is the biggest hurdle. Electricity rate, then lending rate by financial institutions, and third one is a maze created by politicians. That is a land rate. So this land grabbing and soft money, what we can say, that has to go. So any innovation, this generation should feel a need. What is happening, unfortunately, because of lack of education and opportunity for higher education, many of the youth, we have highest population of youth across the world. We have highest population. We call it as demographic dividends, and we unfortunately we are unable to reap the benefit of demographic dividend. And Sundar, so he openly says that we have many hands to do work, and unfortunately, because of some social structures, because of ecosystem, they are in this money by selling lands, by getting all the things which are unproductive in nature. Recently, we have witnessed lack of oxygen cylinder. Am I right? So everyone knows there was scarcity of oxygen. There was scarcity of oxygen cylinder. But unfortunately, we must see this is a backdrop of last 20 years. It is not like it has happened because of pandemic or last 2-3 years. It's a backdrop of last 20 years of the policy of this particular demoralizing sectors. So this has to be motivated. This will, if government takes some decision, it will be acting as a motivation for startups.
Understood.
That education institutes, we are doing quite well. Every education institute now, they have got incubation cell, they have got entrepreneurship clubs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saradatta. Thank you for your views. Let me take up one of the questions before I hand over to Dr. Pushpendra. I see a question from the audience which says, is it correct to assume that all students, what they learn becomes obsolete in 5 years? Right? I'll rather leave it to all of you to answer at the end. Let me not spoil, let me not be a spoil sport here from the industry side of the fence. The next question is something which is more interesting, which I'll probably take it up as the industry representation. How much is a gap between theory and reality, right? Yeah, I think one of the key aspects of gap. The gap is always there. Learning is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, as a learning is not a spectator sport, and it is not. It doesn't start at UG and end at PG, right? It's a lifelong learning as a process. The curve of learning is all about identifying where you hit the plateau or the blind spots, and then go back to your school days, whether it is formal education or an informal education. I do that as well these days. At every year, we go back and identify, have I hit my blind spots, can I reskill myself, and so on and so forth. So is there a stitch fit formula for it? Answer is no. I think it's for self introspection to look at it, and then unlearn, relearn, and then keep moving on. And that applies to every age bracket, every profession, every industry, and that's how innovations have spurred, and that's how industries have grown. I'll pause at that. Let me hand over to Professor Pushpendra, and let me hear from him on the LPU side of a story on what do they have in store, and how are they fostering digital and design led stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Supreet. The broader sense of this particular point has been covered beautifully by Dr. Rupa Manjari ma'am. So I'll just narrow down the things in terms of LPU only. As ma'am said, the innovation or creativity is a kind of muscle if you do not use it. So it was a beautiful line. What we try to do here is, I also believe that every student is creative and they are quite innovative. The only thing is we need to provide them support continuous, you can say, the mentoring and a kind of supportive environment where they can grow and learn. So we try to develop such kind of things. Uh, LPU is fully, you can say, we consider it as like paperless university for the student. They do not prepare any assignment on hard copy. Everything is online. And we also have our personal system, like you can say the WhatsApp. So LPU has our own LPU Live, where every student and teacher are connected. So let's say a teacher is teaching a particular section. The section is enabled to the teacher. Everybody is available, although each and every student and the teacher, they are not aware about the numbers, like the phone numbers, but they can communicate, they can call, even they can do the video call without having the personal numbers. So LQ Live helps the students to put forward their query 24/7 at any point in time to their respective teacher without having any hesitation on that. And teachers should also not have the hesitation to share their personal numbers and the other things. So that is one thing, like the continuous support we provide by incorporating some of the digital platforms like LPU Live, one of them we are having. One another thing in this particular scenario, like when we conduct the classes, or every university is facing the same challenge, the student, they do not come up, they join the class for a certain duration and then they leave. So in LPU we incorporate some of the solutions, obviously software solutions. The software will mark the attendance for the students, and because the attendance, there are certain criteria we are having. So teacher does not mark the based on the activeness. Let's say the teacher is creating polls, or you are asking the questions, or you are asking question through chat or unmuting yourself. All these things we consider as the activation index of the students inside the class. So if you are not active, the platform is going to mark you absent. So we put certain kind of restriction in this particular environment, so that if a student does not connect to the particular system and do not listen to the teacher and does not have the continuous support and cannot share their query as and when it is coming in the mind, I think it can also be one of the hindrance. So we do take care about that. And thanks to the technology, it is available, and the IT industry is there.
Thank you. Mr. Pushender, I'm sorry, but I'm out of time, and we have
Yes,
red flag coming in from the.
I'm done.
audience.
I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me quickly do a round robin of finishing comments from all of you. Let me start with Gopalji, if you can share your finishing comments, 60 seconds, please. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Surpreet. Thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh. I quite enjoyed your your thought process, and I completely, I couldn't agree more than what you just put it across for the forum. I think, Surpreet, at this point of time, this is an opportunity for us. To be very honest, this is a huge opportunity for a designer, for education to relook at the complete system. Yeah, we cannot go from a traditional point of view and say we're going to create innovation, because see, being in incubation centers and everything, every university has that at this point of time. I cannot say one university has and other university doesn't have an incubation. Everyone is working towards it. Yeah, but I think this is a great opportunity, because even if you look at the technology education, and what I was talking to Dr. Punya, who is the chairman of AISHE, and I come to know it's been like 15 years that the technical engineering has gone under the curriculum revive. Yeah. So this is a huge opportunity, looking at the future, how the curriculums and the industries and the trainings and everything comes together, and build this platform which supports students to be future ready, not just for the market ready, but as a change maker who take a decision of being an entrepreneur or go into the industry. And I think specifically talking from a design point of view, just give me another few seconds. I think design is here in India at this point of time. Design is going to lead India, because we don't want to become another China, to become a manufacturing country. We want to lead design, and design is something like we have seen Pratap Bose winning the Global Car Award of this year, being a designer. Tata Motors has completely changed its face because of design. Design is here, and we need to, this is an opportunity for everyone to work together. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gopalji. Dr. Rupa Manjari, your finishing comments, ma'am. Yeah, 60 seconds, please.
Yes, I sort of take on the question you flashed, that you did not answer.
Yeah, so there's no questions. There's just a finishing.
I know. That triggered my thoughts. So my last 60 seconds, because I'm doing event after event. So the value of an education for me is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind. It's not learning of skills the way you think of. It's the training of the mind to think something that cannot be learned from textbooks. This is actually a quote from Einstein. I'm a physicist, but this is Einstein quote of a different kind. So what does it do? The training of the mind is one skill that never goes obsolete. It's a life skill. So it leads to critical thinking, creative problem solving, and it encourages logical decision making and innovation. So I think if you learn that, doesn't matter what subjects you study, but if you study deep enough, and it's not like it's just a tea anymore in history, it's more like a comb. So you have a breadth of knowledge where you don't know everything, you just know where to find what you need to know, and you understand the language and grammar, and you go deep into something, you actually explore it by your very creative ways and critical ways, then that leads to the innovation skills, and that training of the mind would never go obsolete. That's what the take home thing from a university of today. It's not a particular skilling. Skilling is much more limited in my eyes. So we do skill them, but I think that's not the end world, because when an undergraduate enters, 4 years later, what is the world you're going to see? I don't know. So how can I train you for a future that I do not know anything about? So I train you in the best way possible by training your mind in a most creative way to be able to handle, to be able to, as people say, with Corona, a lot of people are saying, uh, we expect the unexpected. How can you expect the unexpected unless you have an open-ended system which prepares you for those things? So that's really is the critical thing for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. Professor Hemchandra Reddy garu, your comments, please. Your finishing comments. Unmute, please. Unmute, please.
Sorry for that confusion. I think all the panelists at length, they have discussed all the issues. If you want me to sum up only a few things, pandemic has given us the way. It has taught us to use the technology for the betterment. And in my opinion, we should be going for blended learning down the line.
Sure.
So the discussions are there, whether virtual classroom or physical classroom. I think both shall coexist. The kind of models that Suprit, you were talking about, whether flipped mode of teaching learning. I think they are the best answers, to promote innovation. Also, rightly you said the gap between the theory and practice, that was huge, that is huge, as it exists. Probably every step that we take in terms of curriculum design or the implementation of teaching learning processes in the classrooms shall be bridging this gap. And in my personal opinion, you need to upskill the students, to the best possible extent, to bridge this gap. And also the experiential learning, expose the student to as much experience as possible, give him hands-on experience at least for 6 months or 10 months before he actually rolls out of the academy. So these are the few things that I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, for your valuable, pointers. Dr. Charvata, if you can share your finishing comments.
Yeah. To me, if you ask specifically, there is nothing like theory and practical. Okay, we can't separate these two from like a theory component of a subject and practical component of a subject. So many a times this question arises, and some even veterans they talk on platform कि theoretical knowledge है, practical knowledge नहीं है. So there is nothing like theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge, I will tell you. When I ask the people how you will differentiate this theory and practical knowledge, can you tell me? So he tried to scribe this practical knowledge using some words, some lines, some sketches, some figures. So I said, this is what theory in engineering at least, or science at least. So where is a gap between theory and practical? If whatever you have learned or whatever the experience you have, if I ask you to present it in some textual format or some verbatim, then you say that this is theoretical knowledge. So it is not like whatever the knowledge is there in classical texts, they are all derived from practical. They are all derived from their experiences. Some postulates are there, but over a time, if it is not proved, it will be removed. Some hypotheses are presented. Yes, we can call it as theory knowledge. If it is a hypothesis, it is not proved practically. Till the time it is not proved practically, we can call it as it is in theory only. Okay. So that is a very core structure or core fundamental, you can say theoretical physics and practical. So there is, if theoretical physics is there, there is nothing like practical physics.
Understood. Understood. Yeah.
That is the thing we should, yeah, in some context it is okay, but in some context we should address this issue. Another issue which many a times industry veterans, they say that students, they do not have this knowledge. And we did one exercise 2 times. We called almost representatives from 10 different industries. And I asked them while devising the syllabus curriculum, maybe this is 12 years back, and one professor, veteran professor from US, he's no more with us. We called him and we asked every industry person to list down the subjects, how many subjects they want to be a part of curriculum. So each one came up with 20, 25 different subjects. 2025. Then I told them, see, to me, as per the UGC norm or curriculum or conventional practice, whatever we can say, I can offer 35 subjects or at the most 40 subjects in 4 years, 10 subjects per year. Collectively, you have given me 200 subjects, and you are representing 10 different industries in manufacturing domain, 10 different industries. Now, is it possible for any institution to cover 200 subjects? No. So this whole thought process is wrong, that university curriculum is not teaching what we need. So I told them, you come up with some syllabus and we will implement it as elective or.
Yeah, Dr. Charudatta, thank you so much. I get the message. We are out of time. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
Let's get quick comments from Pushpendraji, from Professor Pushpendraji, and then we can conclude. Yeah, thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thank you so much, Supreji and everyone. It was a very nice session overall, and almost everything has been covered. And I'm very much agree with that point that education is not about learning the facts, but training the brain. So every university should have the responsibility so that a student will get the proper training, and by the end of the degree they must be skilled enough so that they can innovate, they can think, and they can be a kind of leader which can bring the change, as Gopal ji was saying about. So change maker, right? For that we need to train our teachers. So trainer model we have. We ask the industry to train our teachers, and then we incorporate some advanced tools also so that student can get that particular thing. And then we design some innovative assignments and a lot of things, then projects. And then we ask the student to go on the internship and connect with the industry so that they understand the ultimate thing, what is happening in the industry out of the theory and the environment of the university. And that is the only thing we can train their brain rather than teaching them. Okay, so I'm very pleased to be here, and nice to hear everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Pushpendraji. Thank you, all the esteemed panelists. One thing that I'd like to leave as a message is that learning is a lifelong process. Life is the best teacher, and I think we need to learn from our mistakes. Probably not sulk at it, laugh at it. And I think the situation we are in, currently from a pandemic standpoint, it's not forever. These are all challenges, extreme challenges. but I think we will overcome it. Science will win. Hope floats, and let's make the best of all the opportunities and the collective knowledge, both academic, societal, as well as industry, together to make a great future for ourselves. Thank you so much for all of your time, your valuable views. Really appreciate it. You've been a great sport. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. See you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks.
Bye.